We're ready to begin. Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. My name is Antoine Baillargeon, and I'm the program coordinator here at the Ottawa branch. I'd like to begin by recognizing that the Ottawa branch is located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We extend our respect to all First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people for their valuable past, present, and future contributions to this land and country. On behalf of the Ottawa branch, I'm pleased to welcome you to today's session titled Relieve Your Back Pain, Strength and Mobility for a Healthy Spine, presented by AIM Fitness. I want to give a warm welcome to our presenters today, Meg Stickl, owner of AIM Fitness, and Lisa Flanders, physiotherapist from Bloom Health, Ottawa. Lisa will start us off by sharing a presentation discussing common causes of back pain, and she'll share some practical tips to help you move more comfortably in your daily life. After the presentation, Meg will guide us through a gentle workout focused on strengthening the muscles that support the back while improving mobility and flexibility. Now, before we begin, I want to give a special welcome here to anyone who is not yet a member of the association. We hope that these webinars will inspire you to join us. And to our members, we hope that these webinars will encourage you to maintain your membership with us. Finally, I want to say that closed captions are available in both French and English. So to access this feature, please click on the closed captions button at the bottom of your screen. And to translate to French, you can click on the little arrow next to the closed captions button and select the translate option. Finally, if you have any questions for Meg and Lisa, please type them in the Q&A box on Zoom, so you can find that again at the bottom of your screen. And they'll be able to answer them at the end of their presentation. That's all for me, so I'll pass it over to our presenters. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Antoine. I want to welcome Lisa and introduce her before she begins our presentation. So Lisa is a lifelong athlete and anatomy nerd. Lisa loves using her skill set to help individuals move better and to continue to do the activities that they love. Lisa believes in treating the whole person and uses a keen eye and thoughtful assessment approach to identify key areas necessary to restore optimal function and movement. And Lisa is an orthopedic physiotherapist along with a pelvic floor physiotherapist. So I want to welcome you and thank you so much, Lisa. Lisa and I met years ago when I first started my business through networking, and we've crossed paths quite a few times over the years. So I'm so excited to have you join me today for our presentation. So I'll pass it right over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Meg. I really appreciate the invitation to speak today. The spine is one of my passion areas, and I'm hoping to take the audience through general information about the back, the spine, how it works. And I know that you are going to be doing a movement class after, but my part of the presentation is also going to include movement because we don't want to sit and listen to me talk for half an hour. So we are talking about the spine today, and I can't see anybody on this call. However, I just want to remind you that your spine was designed to move. And I'm sure if I asked everyone, how many of you have experienced back pain at some point in your life, I imagine I would get 100% of people putting their hands up. I'm going to share a few stats first, and then we're going to talk about why the spine is important and other components of our spine. And like I said, this is going to be a little bit interactive in terms of being able to move and try some things. If you do have a question at any point, again, put it into the chat and let's get started. So like I said, our spine was designed to move. Up to 80% of people will experience some form of back pain in their life. And that is the people that have reported. And I'm sure there have been many situations where you have what I call like tweaked your back or something just felt a little bit off that is not actually ever reported because it doesn't last for very long. And I will give you an example. On Saturday night, on Saturday, I took an acupuncture course and we were putting a lot of needles into my spine. And there was just one little spot in the evening that was feeling a little off. So I definitely had to adjust how I was sleeping that night to make sure it didn't impact my sleep. And by Sunday morning, I felt okay. So as much as I had experienced back pain, I was not reporting it. I was not seeing a physician about that because it was such a short period of time. So 80% of people will experience back pain at some point in their life. And low back pain is the leading cause of disability worldwide. In 2020, there were 619 million people worldwide living with low back pain. But the good news is most low back pain is not dangerous and it improves with the right movement and lifestyle strategies. So, what I want you to take away from that is that our spine is strong, our spine is adaptable, and our spine is designed for a lifetime of movement. So, let's talk about why a healthy spine matters. So, a healthy spine allows us to do the things that we love to do. Those things can include, oh, shoot, something is happening. Give me 1 second. I just had something close out on me, my notes, which I need to follow along with so that I stay on track. So if you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to pull those notes back up. Apologies for this. I'm sorry, Meg. Oh, here we go. All right. So why does a healthy spine matter? A healthy spine allows us to do the things that we love to do. That includes walking confidently. That's gardening. That is traveling around the world with friends or your partner. That's playing golf. That's playing pickleball. Pickleball is one of my love sports. I am a new-ish pickleball player. I've been playing for about 18 months, but I think it is one of the most incredible sports. That includes lifting your grandchildren or your dog if you have a small dog. And this allows you to stay independent. If we have a healthy spine, we can be independent. Back pain is not just about pain. It can affect a lot of other parts of our life. This can affect sleep, energy, balance, our confidence, our social activities, which is our social life, and then our quality of life overall. I did experience a herniated disc in 2021. I got a new puppy who was just adorable and the cutest little thing. But he just hated everything about like getting into a car. If I wanted to take his leash on or off, I was doing a lot of bending over. And I did say to myself, I'm going to hurt my back doing this. And then sure enough, I hurt my back. I herniated a disc. That lasted for 9 months. A herniated disc happens when the disc fluid, so in between the vertebrae, presses backwards into this canal and then presses on the spinal cord, and it creates referred pain in different parts of our body depending on the level of the injury. The biggest thing for me in that time, I was very lucky I could still walk, and because I had this young dog, we were going on a lot of walks and the walks felt so good on my back. What didn't feel good was sleep. I, every single night, would wake up multiple times a night in pain. I'd have to get out of bed. I would sometimes take the dog for a walk at like 3 o'clock in the morning around the block just to relieve that back pain. And that lasted for a 9 month period of time. So my sleep was affected, but what really ended up being affected overall for me was my mental health and my emotions. I became a not so happy person to be around. I was recognizing that I was kind of always a little bit grumpy because I was tired. And there was a period where I really was trying actively to avoid seeing friends because I knew I was not in a good mood. So that affected all aspects of my life. Even though I had this back pain, so many aspects of my life were being affected. And I was very lucky that I saw the right professionals at the right time and was able to overcome that pain. And it's now been, I think I'm going on 4 years, almost to the date of completely pain-free, back to the activities that I love. And I'm very grateful for that. So a takeaway from that is maintaining spinal health allows us to maintain our independence, maintain our mental health, our psychosocial, so our interactions with friends, family, and then the activities that we love to do. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this term, motion is lotion. So I want to talk about what that means. So what I hear a lot from people when they come to my office and they're having back pain is they're like, I haven't been doing anything because my back hurts. I think I should just rest. That was advice that we used to give to people. Oh, you're injured. You should just rest for 6 weeks. Don't do anything. But what actually happens is that creates more dysfunction. So current evidence actually shows that movement and physical activity are key components of managing and preventing chronic low back pain. And going back to my example of my not my spinal injury, that's my herniated disc affecting my spine. I was so grateful that I could walk. And so because I could walk, I was walking as much as possible. There wasn't a lot else I could do, but walking was the thing I could continue doing pain-free. And I would look forward to those walks with my dog because I knew it was going to be an hour of having no pain. And then as things started to get a little bit better, I started adding things in that I could do in a pain-free way. And it took some trial and error. And I worked with my physiotherapist and my osteopath to figure out what I could do in the meantime while things were healing. So I want you to think of your spine or all of your joints really as being like a sponge. Okay, so you have a sponge on your kitchen sink. It's dry, doesn't have a lot of movement to it, but the movement brings water to the area, brings nutrients into the joints. It helps improve circulation. Oxygenated blood is what helps things stay healthy. So blood flow. It helps to reduce stiffness. I'm sure many of you have sat for a long period of time and then you've had to get up and it takes a couple minutes to find your steps to stand upright. This happens to me every single morning. I feel like I get out of bed, walk to the bathroom, kind of waddle there. And then by the time I get out of the bathroom, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm walking normally. Movement also is what maintains mobility, and our spine is designed to move, and we need that mobility. It also helps keep our muscles active, which again brings nutrients and blood flow to the area. So I love that term, motion is lotion. When we stop moving, what happens after a long period of time is our muscles weaken, our joints stiffen, our balance starts to decline, and then we get fear around movement. We create this fear and we're not sure where to go. So, if I can give you some practical advice, every 30 to 60 minutes, whatever you're doing, and actually the research shows every 18 minutes, if that is plausible in your life, but if we can just aim for 30 to 60 minutes, if you're sitting, stand up. If you're standing still, go for a walk around your house. Do a couple stretches or just change positions. I have a lot of clients that talk to me about posture. Oh, I think my posture is bad. I want to improve my posture. I'm going to tell you right now, there is no such thing as a perfect posture. I like the idea of your best posture is your next posture. So we want to be constantly moving. We could sit in a quote, perfect posture all day long and still have pain because our body isn't moving. So I move around a lot throughout my day. I'm very lucky in my work. It is not a sedentary environment. I'm moving frequently and I am going through bad posture sometimes because that's what feels nice in that moment. And then I'm moving back into a more ideal posture. We're going to talk about posture in a couple minutes here. So, what I want to bring attention to, and a big part of my practice, is how our core affects our pelvis and spinal health. So a lot of people think our core is our abs. I'm doing core work, I'm doing sit-ups, I'm doing planks, that this is all core work. So we have a core, a deep core, and then we have abdominal muscles. Our core is our stabilizer muscles, and I'll show you where those are in just a moment. And then we also have our prime mover muscles. These are the abdominal muscles, the six-pack abs that we all have. A lot of ours are just hidden under a few layers, but every single person has a six-pack. Those muscles are mover muscles and they are important as well, but the core is very, very important. So I have a model here. It's not a full spine model, but just for you to get an idea. So this is our pelvis, okay? Spine is coming up the back and our spine comes all the way up to the top of our head. And our core is made up of four structures that create sort of like a balloon shape, for lack of a better explanation. So at the top here, underneath our rib cage, we have our diaphragm. That's our breathing muscle. Our breathing muscle is under both voluntary and involuntary control, so it's very strong. So our breathing muscle moves up and down like this. Okay, that allows us to take a breath. We have the bottom part here in our pelvis. This is called the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor is becoming a lot more popular, which is fantastic. It was overlooked for so many years. So the pelvic floor supports the base of our core. Okay, this supports bowel function, bladder function. We have a muscle that comes across the front of the abdomen from side to side, and it's called transversus abdominis. It is our deepest abdominal muscle, and it basically acts to support the front part of our body, kind of like a corset. And then at the back, we have another muscle that comes from the sacrum to each of the individual vertebrae, all the way up the spine. That's called multifidus. And these structures all work together, and they work together through breath. So when we take a breath in, I'm going to just move back so you can see what pardon me. I had to create some space in my dining room here. So our diaphragm sits below our rib cage. So when we take a breath in, that diaphragm contracts and it lowers, that pulls down on the lungs. It creates negative pressure, so air is allowed to come into our lungs. But what happens in the abdomen here is we have this positive pressure, and that positive pressure has to go somewhere. So ideally, we get equal pressure distribution from the breath, front and back, side to side and down. So it's very much like when we inflate a balloon. The diaphragm contracts and all the other muscles, transversus abdominis, multifidus, pelvic floor, relax and lengthen. Then we breathe out, the diaphragm returns to resting. We get a loss of pressure in the abdomen, and then those muscles all reflexively contract. So breathing is a huge part of spinal health. So wherever you're sitting right now, I want you to take a hand. I want you to put one on your abdomen, and then I'd like you to put one on the side of the ribs. And close your eyes, open your eyes. It doesn't matter. Just take 2 or 3 breaths in and out and pay attention to how your hands move. So breath in and out. Breath in and go at your own pace. There's no proper way to breathe in terms of timing. And one more. And what should happen is the hand that's on the abdomen should be moving out. The hand that's on the side of the ribs should be moving a little bit to the sides, and then our shoulders should stay relatively neutral. So we shouldn't be seeing a lot of this lift of our shoulders. Posture can really affect that. So if I was to sit in a really rounded posture and then I tried to breathe into my abdomen, nothing really happens, and I get a lot more of this breath into the sides of my ribs. So breathing is really important for spinal health, postural health, also just helping to massage our organs, and then also keeping our core very healthy. So poor breathing patterns, this can cause tension, especially in our neck. And I'm sure many of you at some point have worked at a computer, and over time we start to get close to the computer because we can't see it anymore. By the end of the day, our shoulders are rounded forward, our back is rounded, and then to breathe, our shoulders have to move up and down, and then we go, oh, my neck really hurts. What do I do here? Well, let's sit a little bit differently and look at our posture in a different way. I hope that makes sense for everyone. So part of what I'd like you to practice at the end of this call or some point today, just lie down, sit in a comfortable position, put your hand on the side of the ribs, on your abdomen, and just play around and see how things move. And if you can make them move a little bit differently. So if you're getting a lot of this abdominal movement, but not a lot of rib movement, just see, okay, can I think about breathing into my ribs a little bit more and expanding my ribs sideways? And again, there's no such thing as perfection. This is all practice. So let's move into that posture piece. So again, as I mentioned, there's no such thing as a perfect posture. In reality, your best posture is your next posture because our body loves to move. Our body doesn't like to sit still for very long or not move very much. And if we think of our ancestors did not sit around and watch TV. Our ancestors were in fields and they were working around the house and they were very, very physical. And that's what our body likes to do. So I'm going to give you a few key takeaways about sitting. And again, I want to just preface this by saying there is no such thing as a perfect way to sit, but things that we can be mindful of when we are sitting or if we are looking to change postures. So I'm sure a lot of us are sitting right now. So again, I'm going to move back so you can see what I'm doing. And I might actually even angle myself this way so you can really see what I'm doing here. I don't have a lot of space in my house to do things like this, but here we go. Don't mind the back. So when we're sitting down, some key things we want to be aware of is we would like to have our feet supported on the ground. We can also support our feet by putting them up onto like an ottoman, but then what happens when we do that, when we bring our feet up onto something, is we start to curve and we start to sit on our tailbone. And then we start to feel that very low, achy pain in the base of our spine. If we do that for too long, again, not saying don't do it, just be mindful if you are going to sit like that to try to move every 30 minutes or so. So let's sit with our feet supported. We want, my chair's a little bit tall, so I'd actually probably put a little bit of a footstool underneath my feet because ideally we'd like our knees to be a little bit higher than our hips. Shoulders should be relaxed. And then what I like to do is I take my hand, I put it underneath my bottom, and I just pull all of that tissue out of the way, all my bum tissue. I just move it out of the way. And then it puts me onto my sits bones. So our sits bones are designed to be sat on. There are these huge bones right here on either side of our pelvis that we sit down on. Okay. What we don't want to do is be sitting on our tailbone. And that's what happens when we start to slouch. We get onto our tailbone. That causes a lot of pressure. That bone's not really meant to be sat on. So those are some great tips for sitting, but what about standing? So actually, now that we're in sitting, let's just retest our breathing and see if our breathing changed. So we've moved our bum tissue out of the way. Our feet are on the floor. Shoulders are relaxed. Let's just test breathing again and see if it changed anything. Hand comes on our abdomen, hand comes on the side of the ribs. We take a couple breaths in and out. And do we notice that our breath has changed? Can we get a deeper breath? And again, this is not about perfection, but just noticing, can we do something a different way? When we're standing, we want to try to even the distribution of weight between our feet. So I'll typically stand. I don't have enough space for this in my house, but we want to typically be about feet shoulder width apart, equal weight between both of our feet. We want to think about having our shoulders relaxed. You guys can't really see me here. Shoulders are relaxed. And then we want to think about a string on the top of our head pulling us towards the ceiling. So I'm thinking of just pulling up a little bit. That also starts to engage our core and support our spine. But again, I don't want to stand like this for a long period of time. So if I'm in a situation where I'm standing a lot, I might then go off to one side, but then I'm going to even it out and go to the other side as well. Maybe I'll bend my knees a little bit more. Maybe I'll put one foot staggered. So there are just different ways that we can move around in our postures to make sure our body keeps moving. All right. Let me just go back up here. So just other parts of the spine that are important. So a lot of people believe that flexibility is the answer. I just need to stretch, I need to stretch, I need to stretch. But strength, and that's where Meg comes in, strength is very important as well. So we talked about some of the muscles that support the spine. So transversus abdominis, multifidus, the diaphragm, the pelvic floor. Other muscles that support our spine include our glute muscles. So we have three really big glute muscles that come up from the back of our pelvis here. And especially the middle one is so important. That's the one that keeps our pelvis neutral when we're walking. So instead of walking like this, like a waddle, we move back and forth in an appropriate way. Glutes are super important. Our prime mover abdominal muscles are important when we're walking because they are our mover muscles. Things come off of them to allow the rest of our body to move. And our leg muscles are very important. If we have strong legs, strong glutes, if our core is functioning optimally, that does help our low back pain a lot. So I'm sure Meg is going to go over some of this stuff with you, but if I can recommend one exercise that I think all people should do, especially older adults, are sit to stands. That's when we're sitting in a chair and we are either using the armrest to help us stand up or we're just standing up on our own. This mimics a squat. And if we can continue doing that, we have strong enough legs to get into and out of a chair or off of a couch. That is going to help us have a healthy spine. I recommend all of my patients that are over 60, 10 minimum 10 sit to stands every single day. That's going to help with balance. It's going to help keep us from falling. Very, very important. Other important reasons to have strong muscles to support our spine is going to help us do stairs. A lot of our houses have stairs in them, and for us to stay independent, we have to be able to go up and down those stairs. I luckily don't have stairs in my house. So I still have to be mindful of stairs, but I don't have stairs in my house. I have a bungalow. If we're carrying our groceries in from the car, we have to have strong muscles to be able to do that because typically we're going up one or two steps with a few bags of groceries. And if you're like me, I like to take the least amount of trips as possible. So I will try to put all of my groceries in my two hands and do one trip from the car into the house. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Doesn't typically work the Costco order. So very simple ideas around strength. We want to aim for some form of strength training, a minimum of 2 days a week for about 30 minutes. This helps keep our muscles strong, also keeping our bones strong, which is very important for osteoporosis. We want to try to walk on most days. I know there's a lot about the 10,000 steps. I did read somewhere that 4,000 steps is like a great starting point. So just trying to aim to get out for a walk every single day. And then doing some form of balancing exercises. And that's where I love something like the sit to stands because it does challenge our balance, especially if we aren't using our hands. All right, final thing, and then we'll open up for questions. I'm almost on time, Meg. I'm very proud of myself. So I want you to really think about having like your spinal health very much like tooth health. We brush our teeth every single day. So I want you to think about spine health every single day as well. So the small habits that are very important are walking, some form of strength training, taking a little bit of a movement break. So if you know you have to be doing something where you're standing and not moving or sitting and not moving for a period of time, just try to put an alarm on your phone or your kitchen alarm, set it for about 30 minutes. And then when that alarm goes off, take a break and do something different just to get your body moving in a different way. I'd love for you to practice some of those deep breathing exercises we just talked about and just play around with how things are moving. If you're not noticing something move, just see if you can bring your attention to that area. Sleep is so important just for overall health. So trying to have good sleep habits, not being on like watching TV super late into the evening or being on screens sort of within the hour before going to bed. Trying to stay socially active. So find those social activities that are going to nourish you. So for me, I mentioned it's pickleball. I have the most amazing group of 8 people I play with every week, and I just really look forward to that social time as well as staying active. So that's always fun for me. And then keep doing the activities that you enjoy. And I just want to point out if you go to see someone, physiotherapist, chiropractor, massage therapist, whoever it may be, and they tell you to stop doing the activities that you love, you need to find someone else to see. There is maybe a temporary period where we say, let's hold back on those activities, but I will never tell someone to stop doing the activities that they love because there is so much more that is involved with being physically active that isn't just about the physical activity. And again, that goes back to like the social part, the mental health piece. My goal as a physiotherapist is to help you reach your goals. So if you tell me, like, Lisa, I want to be able to like lift my 50-pound granddaughter, like I am going to help you lift your 50-pound granddaughter if that's what your goal is. I will never say no, that's not an acceptable goal. So that's really important. So other things I want you to remember, your spine is strong. Our spines are very, very strong. Motion is lotion. Strength is protective. Breathing is a really key aspect of your core, and independence depends on movement. And I just want to share a quote that I really like. It is that we don't stop moving because we get older. We get older because we stop moving. And I'm just going to open up for any questions anybody has before I let Meg take you through an awesome movement.
Amazing. Thank you, Lisa. Wow,
Thank
so,
you.
so informative and just so uplifting, really positive what you had to share.
But
So
I'm
if
glad.
anyone has any questions, please drop them in the chat in the Q&A and we will get to them. So we'll just let that sit for a minute. Something I'd say my big takeaway from you today is your best posture is your next posture. I know that's so just a kind of a new idea for me. And I'm going to be sharing this with my clients. And I work with a lot of people who as well say, Meg, my posture has gotten worse. And so it's really so helpful to have that practical reminder of, yeah, just get up, change position. If you're standing, move. If you're sitting, stand up, do stretches. So all things that we know, but we need to hear it in a different way often. So very
Mhm.
refreshing.
That's one of my favorite things is that about posture because there's no such thing as perfect posture. We could sit in and I like, people have these $1,000 ergonomic chairs and they still have back pain. And I'm like, you still got to move in your $1,000 chair.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. Creating more movement as a lifestyle. And I love that you also focused on, keep moving, keep doing those things that you love. And I know
Mhm.
that for this group especially, that's a huge priority. I know this is a very active group who love pickleball and golf and gardening and all of those things. So yeah, this has been great. All right. Doesn't look like we have any questions at this point. So what we will do is we will share Lisa's contact information her email and website. So if you have any questions or if you'd like to book a consult or work with her, she is wonderful, as we've all learned today.
We are
So
such an amazing team at the clinics. Like we are, I'm so blessed. I have a team of 13 amazing physios.
amazing, amazing. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate
Thanks, Meg.
your knowledge and insight into our topic. Oh, one question before you go. Someone has
Okay.
said, please comment on gardening. Okay,
Yeah, like
so
finding the right position about gardening. I mean, I think gardening is a great activity, but it is definitely an activity that's hard on our body. So I personally, and I'm sure a lot of people have those little mats that you can kneel on when you're gardening, or you can get little gardening chairs if you're finding that kneeling isn't comfortable. What I actually recently also transitioned into was raised garden beds. So garden beds that are about hip height. So I don't have to bend over anymore to do, because I even was having a hard time being bent over. So gardening, like any activity, we can't just go out and start gardening. We do have to do a warm up and make sure our body is ready for that activity. It's definitely something that's hard on our body. So just adding in tools to help us. So like I said, something to kneel on if you're still comfortable kneeling. You can like a little collapsible chair if you prefer to sit. And then if you can, the raised garden beds are super helpful.
awesome. That's great. One more question that is here. What do you recommend to someone who developed lumbar scoliosis in their mid 60s and wants to remain active? How
Mhm.
normal or unusual is it to develop scoliosis at a later life?
Yeah, so there's two types of scoliosis. There is a structural scoliosis, and that's something that we're typically diagnosed with when we're a child. When our bones are developing, instead of just stacking one on top of the other, some of them get wedged and create that scoliosis. And if you're diagnosed as a child, there's things that you can definitely do, but like you're probably always going to have scoliosis. When we develop scoliosis later in life, that is a functional scoliosis, and what typically that means is there is muscle imbalances at various parts of our body. So imagine the spine comes all the way up here. And we have all of these muscles around our spine to protect it. So what happens is muscles get tight on one side and they start to pull, and then the spine starts to move into a bit of a pattern. I have a functional scoliosis because I have a leg length discrepancy. So my left leg is, or sorry, my right leg is a little bit longer than my left, and it just creates this little bit of imbalance. And then our spine wants to try to be as straight as possible. So my pelvis looks like this, not that bad, but then my spine continues upwards. So that's where I definitely think working with a practitioner or personal trainer just to help with that alignment piece can be helpful. And I want to also say that there's no such thing as perfect alignment. I've never once seen someone come into my practice who's perfectly aligned in every part of their body. Um, but ensuring that we are doing stretches and strengthening activities to help create that alignment. But it does sound, and again, I'm not your practitioner and I haven't seen your file, but it sounds like developing it in your 60s, that it is more functional and it's related to muscle imbalances, potentially.
Oh, thank you. We do have two more.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they're coming in. So Roger says, please comment on my 80-year-old discs having lost cushion and leads to back pain.
Yes. So disc health is something that we do see a change in as we get older. Our discs are made up of like cartilaginous tissues, and just as we age, part of what happens is it loses hydration. So maintaining what you have within your disc, so still being able to move back and forth within your spine, so moving the spine back and forth is very, very important. Hydration becomes very important as well. And then that's where that core health, because our core health actually helps support and lift our spine back up and takes pressure off of the discs. I hope that's helpful.
Awesome. And then another one, I have problems with carrying groceries and pulling the cart. I get pain down one leg or the other.
So problems with gross, so pushing the cart and then also with carrying the groceries, like lifting them or like carrying them. So again, this comes back to core health and core strength. So one thing that I love to give to a lot of my clients for helping with that support is we start it with a pretty light weight and we just do standing, I call them suitcase holds. So I don't have a weight here, but you can imagine. So I stand with a weight in one hand so that I'm off balance a little bit. And then I try to stay as straight as possible. So I do this in front of a mirror, and we don't want to be leaning over. So that helps our muscles around the core stay upright while we have something in one hand, and then we can add something to a second hand. I give that actually a lot of my postpartum clients because they're carrying car seats, and that can be a really great way to help create a little bit more strength. Now, again, I'm not your practitioner, so I don't know 100% what's going on. But with pushing the cart, that then goes back into some core strength, glute strength, hamstring strength as well. So those types of activities are going to contribute to the ability to maintain going to the grocery store independently and being able to push that cart. I don't know where you grocery shop. I also like a Costco grocery cart for me is a nightmare. I actually really like at Metro, they have those like mini grocery carts, and I live alone, so I don't have a very large grocery list. I actually always prefer those little mini ones, and I wish all stores had them. But it's not going to necessarily be the case wherever you go, but that's where maintaining that strength, hamstrings, glutes, core is going to be very helpful.
So, so we're going to wrap it up there. If you do have any other questions, I know there's a few more personal questions. That would be great to reach out directly to Lisa, and I'm sure she'd be happy to help you physically as well. So once again, thank you, Lisa, so much for being with us this morning. Really appreciate it. And yeah, definitely, I think we all learned a lot from you. So thank you so
Great.
much.
Enjoy your movement class. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yes, don't go anywhere. We're going to move next. So what I want you to do, everyone, is stand up. We've been sitting for a while, and I've got some exercises for us. So you can stand up, push your chair off to the side, but keep it close. I am going to be showing you and leading you through some really good exercises using a chair. We're going to be doing a few new things today. All right, I'm going to connect to my microphone. Give me a second here. All right, I'm just having an issue connecting, so I'm going to lead you through the first few stretches and then I'm going to connect. All right, so what I want you to do is stand up. I'm going to begin by circling our shoulders backwards. So bring those shoulders up nice and high, circle back. So I want you to do 15 backwards and then change directions and do 15 the other way. All right, and let me connect as you're doing that. All right, the next exercise, we're going to be doing some chest openers. So I want you to bring your hands in and then squeeze those shoulder blades back. From the side, we're going to really bring that chest as wide as you can, and then hands and elbows in, nice and narrow. All right, keep going, everybody. Okay, so unfortunately my microphone is not working, so I'm going to stay close to my phone so you can hear me. The next exercise we're going to be doing, which really opens and stretches that spine, as Lisa was talking about, is doing some side body stretches. So we're standing up nice and tall, and we're going to be alternating, reaching from one side to the other. And notice the stretch down the side of the torso, and you'll feel your spine stretching too. Now, this is a really good one to do right before you go gardening or play pickleball or golfing. So you want to do between 10 to 15 stretches per side. If you've osteoporosis, you can reach a little bit more with the arm. Don't move quite as far with the spine. If you don't have osteoporosis, you can really move within your limits. It's a great one for mobility. Remember to breathe as we continue, breathing in and out. Good, and 3 more per side. And 2. And 1. All right, from here, we want to bend those elbows, and we're going to be twisting. So twisting from the spine, and think about keeping your hips facing the front of the room, and really stretching that back as we twist. Those elbows bent, and you can look over your shoulder to stretch your neck. And what you may notice as you continue is that you can go a little bit further from one side to the other as you do more. So we're improving that flexibility. This is another good one to do right before you go golfing, gardening, any activities. Maybe you're hanging out with your grandchildren. Want to really warm up that spine before we do any of those movements. Let's do another 3, 2, and 1. Good. And then one of my favorites, I do this quite a lot with clients, is posture squeezes. So we're going to begin with arms straight and then bend those elbows, squeeze your shoulder blades back. So reach and squeeze. Now just watch that you don't hunch over or lift those shoulders up. Keep your shoulders low. And a great place to do this one is right in front of the mirror. You can turn to the side like I'm doing, so then you can actually see what you're doing. Good, so we're reaching front and then squeeze those shoulder blades back, really focusing on bringing your elbows low, shoulders low too. For the breathing, we'll breathe in, breathe out. So these are all really great stretches and movements that you can do when you are taking your standing break. So if you've been sitting for a while, stand up, do these exercises, and it will really help to reset your spine, warm up your back, reduce some of that pain. Okay, let's do another 3, and 2, and 1. Good, all right, give those arms a shake. Move your back a little bit here, side to side. Just notice how you're feeling. All right, so we're going to be moving on. I've got some exercises we're going to be doing with a chair. So bring your chair close to you. Ideally, your chair does not have wheels. You want to make sure it's a nice stable chair. So you can also push your chair right against the wall. Okay, so our first exercise we're going to be doing is called doing a shoulder push-up. So it's a very small movement. We're going to bring our hands right to the seat of your chair, and we're going to have our arms straight. You bend your knees to support your weight. And what I want you to do is lower your body. So my arms are not moving. You'll notice my arms are nice and straight. And then I'm pushing up, pushing into my back. So your back is straight and you're lowering your torso and then pressing up. So shoulder push up. It's a very small movement. This one is really good for building up strength in your back. So lower down and then pressing through those arms. Good. Just notice that change. And breathing in, breathing out. And you can look down towards your hands as you're doing this one. All right, it's a small movement. You will feel it. It won't take long. Let's do another 3, 2, 1. All right, good. Come on up and you can circle the shoulders backwards before we do our next one. That's hitting right between the shoulder blades. All right, the next one we're going to do is the cat and the cow. So really good for spine flexion and extension. We're going to use the chair once again. I know you can do it on the floor. You can also do it on when you're sitting down. So I'm going to show you a new way to do this one. So again, we want to be leaning over. Now I like to put my hands backwards on the chair. So I'm gripping the side of the chair. This is a little bit more kind to your wrist. We're going to be rounding the back down and then arch the back. Look straight ahead or up. So round through the spine. Then extend. Good. So rounding, imagine you're lifting your belly button up towards your spine. And then here we want to lift that tailbone and look up. With the legs, you can bend your knees. That's what I'm doing, bending my knees slightly. And then you want your shoulders to be right over your wrists so that it doesn't put too much pressure on your wrists. Let's do a few more. Breathe in as you round and breathe out. Another 5. Good. 2 more. One more. Good. And push yourself to standing. All right, good. Circle the shoulders backwards. All right, we've got one more. Back to the same position. You can have your hands flat this time. We are going to be doing some mini knee bends. So this is going to help and work on the back of the legs. When our legs are really tight, especially the back of the legs, that can impact our low back as well. So what I want you to do here is bend those knees and then straighten your legs, pressing back against the wall. So bend those knees and straighten the legs. Good. So again, my shoulders are right over top of my wrists. Knees doesn't have to be very low at all. Just a little bend and straighten. Straighten the legs. Keep going. Strengthening the front of the legs, and you should feel a nice stretch at the back of those legs. Now, if it doesn't feel good to completely straighten, just go halfway. Few more. Three more. 2 and 1. Good. All right, come on up. Circle the shoulders back. All right, I've got three more for you. We're going to use the back of the chair this time. So let's have that chair right beside you. The first one is going to be focusing on our glutes. So you'll feel this in the outer thigh and also your glutes, which are responsible for stability and can help to alleviate back pain. So I want you to stand on one foot, transfer over to the foot closest to your chair, bend your knee, hand on your hip, and we're going to lift the leg out to the side and bring your knees in together. So lift and lower. As we lift, we want to pause and release. Lift and pause, hold, release. Feeling it right here. Good. Two more. And one. Good. All right, let's walk it out. And take a little walk around your room before we do the other side. And we're going to switch to the other side of the chair. Same thing. Let's bend that knee and lift up and lower. Good. Two more to go. And one. Good. All right, let's walk that out. Excellent. Hobble forwards and back. Great. Good. The next one we're going to be doing is focusing on our glutes and our core. So we're going to be facing our chair for this one. We're going to be extending the leg behind you and then bringing that knee in towards the chair. So we're going to do one leg at a time. So watch my demonstration. All right, you can join me. So squeeze the glute as you lift the leg, then bring the knee in, tighten your core. Give yourself a little bit of space for in front of you. Three more to go. And two. And one. So walk that out, march it out, and we're going to do the other side. So squeezing the glute as you press the leg back, tighten your core as you lift the knee in. Good, three more to go. All right, good job, good job. The next one we're going to do is focusing on the core. We're going to be doing a crossover, bringing your hand to the opposite knee. Once again, we'll use that chair for balance. All right, so we're going to focus on one side. We'll do 10 to 12, and then we'll move to the other side. Tap your foot to the floor or keep your leg lifted as the option. And three more. All right. Step side to side, travel forwards and back. Great, and then we're going to move to the other side to move that chair. Good, three more. And one. Okay, good job, everyone. So just notice how you're feeling. Let's circle our shoulders backwards again. We're almost done. Two things I wanted to let you know about. Number one is I am filming season 4 of Fit Over 50 with Meg on Rogers TV. I know many of you have exercised with me on Rogers TV, and I'm excited to say that NAFR is our main sponsor again. So huge thank you to this wonderful organization that puts on these webinars and is sponsoring my next season. So I would love some feedback from you. If you are someone who watches my exercises and really enjoys them, then be sure to fill out a survey to give me a little bit of feedback on what you want to see more of and what you've enjoyed from previous seasons. So I will be sharing that link with Antoine, so he'll send that with the recording of today's webinar. And then secondly, if you really feel like you need to move a little bit more, these movements, these exercises have been helpful, and you've appreciated Lisa's advice and you agree that you do need to do more strength training, then you can join my AIM Fitness online membership. So in the membership, I have over 200 exercise videos, all geared to adults 50 plus, with both beginner level videos and advanced level videos. And they are all accessible to watch at any time of day. So you can sign in. It's like Netflix. You can choose which video you want to do any time of day. So as a special, I do offer now for members 33% off the AIM Fitness Online membership. So if you want to learn more about that, we'll also send you that information along with the coupon code that you have to enter at checkout in order to get that savings. So if anyone has any questions or any comments, I'd love to hear before we log off. And I really appreciate you all being here today. I hope that this movement and education has been helpful to help you improve your back strength, improve your mobility, so you can keep doing the things that you love. All right, looks like we've got a few comments. I don't have cable. How can I see it? So yeah, so Fatma, you can watch all of the replays on YouTube. So if you visit my website, activitiesinmotion.ca, And you click on the page that says Fit Over 50, you can watch all of the previous episodes of my TV show there. All right, thank you, Kevin. Kevin says thank you, Meg and Lisa. It's great. And Chris says you can also write to your grocery store, fill out a survey form to ask them to get the smaller grocery carts that Lisa mentioned. Okay, that's helpful. I did not know that. Thank you, Chris. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. I'll pass it back over to you, Antoine.
Thank you, Meg. That was great. And thank you everyone who's still here for your participation in today's webinar. And thank you to Lisa for the great presentation earlier. And thank you to Meg for the workout. So please look out, as Meg mentioned, for the follow-up email that'll go out later today. It'll contain the recording for today's presentation, as well as contact information for both Lisa and Meg, and the link to the survey that Meg mentioned. And finally, remember that you can invite non-members to attend these webinars and try us out as a guest. And if you'd like to see what webinars we have coming up, please visit our Ottawa branch website page at nafrottawa.com. So thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day and see you at our next webinar. Bye-bye.